Good morning, everybody. Hey, it's Mike Perna with the Perna Team Keller Williams. This is our weekly Q&A. And thank you for hopping on with me. I am actually sans Austin today. He has taken the week off, rightfully so, and very, very deserved. So you're definitely stuck with me. So get ready to nerd out with me a little bit here, guys. And that's probably a great place to start. We are sliding into, I'm going to move this a little bit because I kind of that way, maybe. Yeah. Okay, that worked. Oh yeah, that's delightfully horrible. That is not working whatsoever. Brilliant. See, I got this nifty subscribe button thing, and you can change the colors on it, which is nice. And I don't know what to use it for, or where to put it, so I'm just gonna put it right there. Um. Anyway. All right, so let's start out. We have a lot to unpack that's been going on in real estate lately. And again, guys, everybody that's on here, throw your questions in the chat. I'm going to go ahead and remind everybody to do that as well. There we go. And one thing that I thought was actually really nifty was I was downtown Detroit yesterday. I was picking up my race pack for the free press. I don't know if anybody on here has run the free press or run the Brooksy or run any of those. Throw that in the chat too. And throw it in the chat if I'm going to see you tomorrow because that's kind of super fun. So I was down there at TCF Center and thinking to myself, first off, TCF was just bought out by Huntington Bank. So is it even going to be TCF Center? And I got a little irritated because why are we calling it TCF Center? It should be Cobo Hall. But what I did get to scope out was we have a little bit different of a race route this year. They're not doing the Ambassador Bridge and they're not doing the tunnel. So traditionally, we run up over the Ambassador Bridge, down the waterfront on the Canadian side, and then back through the tunnel and then out. And then up towards like Motor City and that kind of a thing. But this year we're not doing any of that. This year we are doing only US only side. And I think I took a picture of the map. I did. Okay. Took a picture of the map. That's kind of not easy to see. But what you can see there is we are going up over there. We're going all the way up towards Boston Edison this time, which we usually don't do, right, for that run. We'll usually hit like a Belle Isle or something like that, especially on the US only half. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see. And I think they're limited down to about 50% of the usual people for that run. But it'll be tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. because who doesn't want to be downtown Detroit running in cold weather at 7 a.m. Actually, it's one of my favorite runs, if I'm being honest. But it was actually really nice to get down there, see the number of people that were out, number of people that were running, the enthusiasm, the energy. And it just reminds me again, one more thing that we are coming out the other end of this COVID cycle. And that is one of the points that I definitely want to hit on today is the thought was, and there's been some talk over the last 2 months of how this Delta variant or COVID or whatever this looks like could re-affect, especially real estate specifically, and slow things down, right? And in fact, I believe it to be the exact opposite that's going to be happening. And here's what I mean by that. We've got people that are out and about doing things, which is awesome. Our vaccine rate is going up. Our COVID case rate is going down, right? We've dropped 22%. And as far as number of cases here in the past couple of weeks, which is great. And what that also means is, as we were talking about last week, waiting for that job report to come out, and it came out and showed 194,000 jobs. The stimulus spending that Jerome Powell and the Fed have put out there is going to start slowing down. It's going to start slowing down. And we can see that already, right? And we saw a momentary tick up in interest rates simply because we did have a positive jobs report. Like that was the reason. We had a positive jobs report, and Jerome Powell said, hey, if we get a positive report, we're going to slow the stimulus spending, which at this point was $120 billion per month of bond purchases, which is now going to be squeezed down 20 to 30%. And when those bond purchases go down and they're not subsidized, the cost of the bonds, aka the interest rates, go up, right? And we did see that tick up, and we did see that come back down a little bit. We're still seeing a 3% or a 2.99 or a 2.95 interest rate, which is great. But I don't know. I don't know if we're going to end up seeing that through the rest of the year, essentially. And here's what I mean. So if Jerome Powell ends up pulling back on the bonds, we will see a 3.25 or a 3.5 interest rate going into December and January, right? And he could do it as early as this month. Could do it as early as this month. And again, all indicators are going in that direction because we're back in the fours for unemployment, right? Wage growth is at the highest it's been in 20 years, right? Now, granted, inflation is very high, but because inflation is high, the interest rates also must tick up. And all roads are leading in that direction. All roads are leading in that direction. As much as we would want to see 3% interest rates or 2.85 or 2.75% interest rates forever, which I would love in real estate because it would just keep that real estate market in high gear, and that's so good, right? I mean, I'm a real estate agent. That's what we love, high gear real estate. The reality is the only way out of the inflation bubble that I can see, I mean, and there are multiple ways to get that done. The only way out of this inflation bubble for the next 2 quarters is interest rates have got to remain at or above 3%. They really do. Because what ends up happening is when interest rates go up, it's not mortgage spending that's the target. It's really not. It's not people going to get mortgages. It's the unintended target. It's the secondary target, right? Or car loans are the secondary target. The target is business spending, right? It's General Motors deciding to redo a factory or not redo a factory, right? It's Pepsi Cola deciding to buy a building to house people or not, or redoing a building, right? Because what happens is these large companies go in, like an Amazon or whatever, what have you, and they look at the money and they say, hey, the money is so cheap, I'd rather keep the cash in my pocket or use other people's money to go and do this expansion project or revamp. Or Tesla moving from California to Austin, Texas, for example. That is a $100 billion project, just to be clear. Let's be honest, because you gotta buy or lease factories, you've got to redo the factories, put the robots in, the tech. All of that needs to happen. And what that does is it puts further strain. It really does, puts further strain on our supply chains, right? Because if Tesla, let's say, needs 500,000 feet of Cat 5 wire, right? That's 500,000 feet that they're going to have to go and purchase, and they want that wire now, right? And where they're getting the money, the several $1,000,000 for that wire is through a loan, right? And why are they doing it as a loan? Because the money's so darn cheap. So the goal here by the Fed is to throttle back the economy just a little bit because it is superheated and hopefully curb that inflation. Oh, and here's a great point. People forget how amazing rates are at 3.5%. We've been spoiled with these rates over the past 1.5 years. No doubt. Quentin, you are right. And I'm going to show my age with this one. My first interest rate was 9% 20 years ago. It was right before the great interest rate drops of the early 20s, right? And at that point, they were dropping literally a half a point pretty much every 6 months for like 3 years. It was a crazy amount of drops in interest rate. At that point, the average American was in a home loan for 18 months. They were in a home for 7 years, but they were in a home loan for 18 months. They kept refining because the rates would keep on dropping. So they would stay in the same home, but then lower payment, lower payment, lower payment. And then one of the issues that we also saw in Quentin, great point and great segue, and don't fall into this trap, guys, is people would use their home and their equity almost like an ATM machine. Because while you're refining, you may as well take out an extra 10 or 15,000 or 20,000 or 30,000 to pay off the credit card debt or buy the boat or buy the second property or whatever that looks like, right? And then, of course, we saw what the problem was with that. People had low equity going into 7, 8, and 9. And that was a huge problem with real estate values tanked. So guys, if anybody on this call is above a 3.5% interest rate, today's the day, now's the time, get that refi done. It'll take you a week and a half tops. Shoot me a private comment, shoot me a text, shoot me a call. I'm happy to hook you up with a great lender that has very, very low or no fees to get that done. But we are at the end. If your interest rate still starts with a 4, and it shouldn't, we need to get you out of that loan and into that right loan. We need to right size your interest rate to this market while we still have that opportunity, right? And then that said, and again, I'm a very big Dave Ramsey believer. I'm a very big choose FI, choose financial independence believer. Very big on paying things off, right? Leverage and credit is great. And I do disagree with Dave Ramsey on that. Leverage and credit is great, and you got to use it, right? And at the same time, that doesn't mean treat your home like an ATM. Don't treat your home like an ATM. So I see a lot of people pull the money out, 10, 20, 30, 40,000 with the intention to pay off a credit card. However, what I see not happen is I don't see the spending pattern change. So they're addressing the symptom, but not the cause of the symptom. Is that fair, guys? And please tell me here if anybody either agrees or disagrees with me. I'd love to see somebody disagree with me on this stuff. But I am probably one of the few people out there in life that does not believe that taking 20 grand out on a house at a 3% interest rate is a good thing to pay off a credit card at 14 or 15%. I actually don't believe that's a good thing. I think the right move is right size your spending patterns to your lifestyle to match your income, and then pay it off. Honest to God. Because if you don't do that, 3 years down the road, 2 years down the road, you're just going to have that $20,000 on that credit card again. That's what's going to happen. I've seen it happen 100 times. And that's true. That is absolutely the truth. I agree with you, Quentin. People's long-term happiness in their home can largely be determined by their happiness and their comfort with their monthly payment. That's true. And I'm a studier of psychology. Things and stuff don't technically make people happy. They don't. I mean, look at the United States. We are the richest, most powerful nation in the world. Seriously. I mean, let's just call it what it is. And sure, there's a lot of debate around how much longer this is going to last and all of that. I don't want to get into the weeds on that one. What I will get into the weeds on is every year for the last 30 years, we may have been the richest and most powerful nation and, the only superpower, pretty much the only superpower that I've known since I've been alive, because Russia fell when I was a child. They were no longer a superpower. But happiness-wise, if you look at any study done by any university, by the UN, by any international organization, or even American organizations, we have slid from the mainstay of the top 10 of happiness. We're not even in the top 20. We're not even in the top 20. And our incomes for our people are higher than the rest of the world. It's not stuff that makes people happy. And in fact, there's an argument to be made. Like if you look at like a Germany or Europe or a Japan or some of the other countries out there where they're happy, or Norway or Sweden, where their happiness levels are a little bit higher. If you look at their vacation and their work-life balance, it's very stringent. I'll use my sister as an example. Like where she's at in the country she's in right now, they really do package people down closer to a 40-hour work week instead of a 60-hour work week. Yes, there are times that they got to work in a couple of extra hours, but they get a ton of extra vacation hours as well. And that makes it a little bit different, which is so good. It's experiences that pushes up the happiness quotient. Am I saying that right? Quotient? I don't even know. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. It's the experiences and the experiences you have with the people that you care about, not, another computer that you don't need, or another gaming system that you don't need, or a fourth TV in a house. I mean, and please, I will take all disagreements on this. I always love a friendly and healthy debate, but studies have shown that is where happiness is sourced. Experiences with the people that you love, simply put, not the stuff. Now, granted, there's a base layer of stuff. If you look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, yes, we do need to make sure that we have safety, shelter, food, water. Absolutely. Those things we need, and we need to remove the stressors that we don't know where our next meal is coming from. We are sheltered from the elements. Absolutely. However, don't forget, the highest level on that ladder is self-actualization, right? Or in a lot of cases, why do I exist? Which is, again, esoteric. Getting back to it, though, and again, just want to put a fine point on it. I'm going to move off it. Anybody that has an interest rate that starts with a 4, or anybody that has an interest rate at or above 3.5, definitely reach out to your local bank. Definitely reach out to your preferred lender. If you need a preferred lender with low, no costs, give me a call, shoot me a text, shoot me a message, however you want to get a hold of me. I will connect you with somebody that can get the job done in 10, 12 days, right? Easy. It'll be a very painless process. And don't take the money out and go buy depreciating assets like clothing or a car or whatever. Just don't do it, guys. Trust me, it's a trap. It's like Star Wars. It's a trap, right? Admiral Akbar, he's not wrong. Didn't even get a like for the Admiral Akbar. Okay, that's okay. That's okay. I'll take it. But what that means here is, especially going into winter, so COVID itself, right? So let's take this back in time. So first, thank you for the LOL. I appreciate it. So first half of 2020, we saw around 15-20% of home sales that would normally have existed in March, April, May get shoved into the second half of the year, right? We literally took 15% of those home sales and moved them to the back half of the year, which is very unusual. First time it's been like that in my history, at least my 20-year history. First time it's been like that from what I can see since the 70s and when there was some economic disruption there, which is interesting. This year, it is a later effect of the same thing. Because along with home sales, people were also releasing or leasing apartments or doing other life moves that were happening during the second half of last year, which also means that if you're a first-time buyer and you had released an apartment in the second half of last year and it's coming up now, when are you buying? The second half of this year, which is so interesting to me. So we're seeing a 7, 8, 9, 10% tick up, depending on it's fluctuating week to week in number of home sales versus the previous 5 years. So I just did a video on this one showing that the number of home sales in September was roughly 10% above September 2019, 18, 17, 16, and 15. Legit. Like the market is that strong going into winter. And part of the reason why it's that strong going into winter is the second time home buyer market has really come to life, right? So up until this point, we were hearing a lot of people that had homes to sell say things like, I'm not sure where I'm going to go next. I don't want to be homeless. I don't want to sell a home and then have to go lease for a year. I don't know if I'm going to ever be able to find the property that I want. I don't understand what's going on with the real estate market. I'm a little scared to make a move, right? I mean, shoot, I was there myself. Honestly, I was there myself. I'm finally, I think, finding a home. That's changed. Guys, that has changed. The people that have the homes to sell and buying those second homes are coming to market. Finally. And in droves, right? We saw an increase in homes on market, 2,200 homes from August to September, which is great. We saw 11,800 homes close and sell in September. And we saw 14,000 homes come to market, right? We also saw the average sales price raise in Metro Detroit from $292 to $306. And that's the largest month-over-month, single-month raise that we have seen in this 18 months of just craziness market, all the way to now. So even though we have a market where we're actively saying to people, hey guys, don't expect 10 or 20 offers anymore, right? Expect 2, 3, or 4. That's really where we're at. That white hot multiple offer situation is finally starting to subside as more homes come to the market. What we're also seeing is the homes that are coming to the market are people that are going and buying a more expensive property, right? They're trying to take advantage of those interest rates as they should. And those more expensive properties are on the market and can be found. So if you have a home and you have been considering selling and you've been waiting to make sure that you can get into another property, today's the day and now's the time, right? If you're a move-up buyer, today is the day and now's the time, right? And what I mean by that is Goldman Sachs, they started it last week. And you can Google it. Yahoo has a great article about it, Yahoo Finance. And now there are multiple banks and lending institutions whose job it is to watch these kinds of things, right? Showing that home values are going to continue to go up between 12 and 18% in 2022. 12 and 18%. It's a big number. It's a big number. Right? Let's just take 12%. Let's take the lower end of the spectrum, right? If you're selling a home at 300,000 and buying a home at 600,000 and you do it, let's say December of this year versus December of next year, that home for 300,000, yeah, sure, you can get 336. Okay, you got more money. You got more money. The home for 600,000 is now going to be 672, right? If you're moving up, good morning, Angela. If you're moving up, you're going to go backwards $36,000. Simply put, if you're a move down person, it might be the right time, might not be the right time. I can't tell you. For my parents, it's not the right time because when they make that move down, they're going from a bigger property to a smaller property. Their value is going to increase faster. And the cost of maintaining that home is very small, right? Mainly because my parents have a paid off home. They have a ton of costs other than taxes, insurance, and utilities associated with it, which the value of this property minus the value of the property at half the value that they're going to go into is going to go up more than the cost associated with maintaining the property, right? So not everyone should be in the market to buy or sell. And let me say this a different way. So take that person, same example, but let's reverse it. 600,000 is now worth 672. 300,000 is now worth 336. So that's a $36,000 differential, right? $36,000, that's $3,000 a month. The bigger property, if you can operate that property at or below $3,000 a month, you can move or not move. It's your choice. It's a lifestyle choice. It's not an economic choice. Now, if that bigger home is costing you $4,000 or $5,000 a month, then you should move because that $36,000 that you're gaining, you're losing it right back in payments and taxes and utilities and things like that. Right? Makes sense? Were you with me? All right, everybody's with me. So if you have a paid off home or a very low mortgage payment, or if you look at your taxes, utilities, and everything else, and you're saying, hey, I'm paying $1,500, $1,600 a month, but I can gain $3,000 in equity per month. Yeah, sure. Stay in the home. Might as well. Why not? Unless you actually have a physical need to either unlock that equity or make a move because maybe you need a first floor master and the stairs are just getting difficult. That's a different thing. That's a lifestyle play. That's different than values. And sometimes it's worth leaving a little bit of money on the table to have a better life, simply put, right? Because you got to factor that in as well. Right? If you're looking to move up, again, today's the day, now's the time. And here's another reason why we're seeing home values jump right now. So up until this point, conventional lending was capped out around 550, right? Hadn't moved in a while. Today, conventional loan limits have been raised. It's actually January 1st, but a lot of banks are honoring it today to 625,000, right? And that is the threshold to a jumbo loan. And that's the highest it's ever been. And it was a monster $70,000 raise to get it there, right? What that means is if somebody's putting 20% down, they can buy a home at $781,000, a full $100,000 more than 2 months ago, and still be in the conforming non-jumbo loan limits, right? What happens with jumbo is twofold. One, it gets super hard to qualify. Jumbo loans are much, much harder to qualify for than a conventional standard loan, right? We don't have the usual 680 credit score, you get the rate of the day type of a thing, right? You need to have a 720 or above for most lenders, right? Very few lenders will allow under that. There are a couple, but they're very few and far between. Second, we have a very large jump in interest rate. And what that also means is it's harder to qualify, not because the interest rate's higher or lower, but because the monthly cost jumps significantly when you move that just couple $1,000s up from a conforming to a jumbo, right? And when I say jump significantly, I'm talking a full interest rate point. So going from, like in today's world, going from like a 770 home purchase to a 790 home purchase is not a $20 or $30 or $40 raise on your monthly payment. It's a $500 or $600 raise on your monthly payment. And for a lot of people, that is a capper, because your debt to income ratio controls how much of a monthly payment you can afford to take out. And with that significant of an increase because of the interest rate jumps, they're out. But by raising that price 100,000, all of those homes that are in that range from, let's say, 680 to 780, all of a sudden just got a flood of available buyers that can now afford those homes because they can afford the payments. That's huge. And there is another point as to why home values are still going up and will go up an unexpectedly high amount in 2022. Questions, guys? Mike Perna, Austin Pothast is usually here. He is out this week. Good for him. We answer any and all real estate questions. We go over what's going on in the market at the moment. Generally, I throw in some Star Wars quotes, some pretty bad jokes. True story. But let me know anything that you're thinking of, anything that's on your mind. All right. We got another 20 minutes that I'm going to be at this. So I want to make sure that I'm making the best use of it for you guys. Okay. And this is what I study. So I nerd out over finance in the market pretty heavy. Right. And that's one of my two functions on the team, 100%, is to see around the corners and make sure that we're marketing properly. And we're also advising our clients and advising our agents to advise our clients properly. So please, this is what I do. I read this stuff and digest this stuff and try to read the tea leaves all day, like literally. And to catch everybody up, we're for the people that have joined in, because a bunch of you guys did, where we're at is interest rates are going to be on the rise. Simply put, Jerome Powell is going to push those up. Home values are probably going to go up between 12 and 18% over the next 12 months. Right? Didn't see that coming. Honestly, I didn't see that coming. I've been predicting 3 or 4% based on what I was seeing economically. And then they went and raised the loan limits and did a couple of other things to tweak that. That's a good one. That's a great point there. You also have a lower DTI, right? Debt to income ratio, right? 43% versus 50%. Yeah, and 625 was a great move. It really was. There are a lot of people that are right there on the bubble, and because home values had gone up so drastically. So 2 or 3 years ago, a $500,000 house or a $550 house or a $600 house can't get the loan on it that you need today. And that's why those loan limits needed to go up, if that makes any amount of sense. Let me just let that person know I'm going to call him back. There we go. This is actually a client that I'm helping one of our guys with. There we go. Okay. Sorry, everybody. Yeah, so one of our guys is taking an amazing trip right now, which is so good. I'm trying to help him out with one of his deals that's going on, just making sure we're laying the plane smoothly for the client, make sure he can be present with his family. All great things, right? And that's a good point. And default risk is very low there compared to 12 years ago. Quentin, awesome point on that one. And let's talk about that, right? Because that is something that came up just the last week and a half, all of those studies. So Goldman Sachs had thrown out some numbers back in July and August saying that they were thinking that somewhere around 730,000 people would be evicted, either foreclosures or tenants, right? Before the end of the year. Not going to happen. Guys, that's done. So one thing I keep on hearing from buyers is, and let's say we're in January, right? And I've heard this from many buyers, and Quentin, you probably heard the same thing. You're in the business. And it's just the same mantra over and over. I'm going to wait until the market crashes. 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 Well, guess what? August are the most recent national numbers I've got. So August to August 2020 to 2021, home values are up about 23%. There. In the entirety of the history of the United States, we have only seen 2 crashes at or above 10%. The actual likelihood of any sort of a crash, even more than 3 or 4%, is pretty much zero, right? So we're waiting for the market crash. We're waiting for all the shadow inventory, the foreclosures. And guys, I've been hearing this thing about the shadow inventory for a decade. If there was shadow inventory, it would have already been non-shadowed. It would have been uncovered. It would have been on the market, because the banks don't want to hold these dead assets that they have to pay taxes on and they have to maintain, or the asset goes down in value through maintenance needs and costs and stuff like that. They don't want this stuff, right? So Goldman Sachs recently changed their status and changed it from saying, hey, we're looking at 730,000 people being evicted due to defaults on either mortgage or rent, to about 60,000. That's a big difference. That's not even the size of a fair-sized city here in Southeast Michigan worth of people. Now, it sucks and it's horrible that 60,000 people will be evicted over the next 2 months or 3 months or whatever that looks like, but it's not significantly more than normal either. So in September, what we know is the studies have shown Traditionally, in any given month, 94% of people are on time with either their rent or their mortgage, right? On time, 100% on time, no lates. What we know also is September this year, 92.6% of people are on time with their rents or their mortgage. That's 1.4%. It's negligible. It's literally a very, very small number. So what I don't want to see is I don't want people to base their future finance on false data. And I've been watching buyers do it for the better part of 10 years, right? Back in 2009, when the market started flipping back around, and it was 2009 that we started seeing the road to recovery. 2010, we actually saw it. So what happens is things change and then the news catches up. And real estate is a big, slow moving, slow turning ship, right? So the data that I was pulling back in 2009 as an agent was every quarter, I was pulling all of the sales in Metro Detroit and I filed them into one of two buckets, distressed or not distressed, right? And second half of 7, 8, and 9, the distressed sales made up over 60% of all real estate sales in Southeast Michigan. And what I knew was once we went below 50% on distressed, we were on the road to recovery and home values were going to start going up because there were so few properties on the market, right? Third quarter 2009, that's exactly what happened. We saw distressed sales go in the second quarter down to 58%. And when I say distressed, I mean either bank-owned, short sale, HUD home, FNMA homes, all of that. And then third quarter, we saw it go down to 49%, just a pinch below 50%. But on that day, I knew that 51% of all sales were traditional private-owned sales, which means that in 2010, market values had to go up because the banks were running out of properties to sell. Foreclosures and defaults were stopping. And sure enough, there it was. 2010 happened, 11, 12, and every subsequent year after that. In 2019, we also saw that our real estate values peaked up over the absolute high peak of the first half of 2007 as well. Right? Guys, we are exactly back to where we would have been had we seen real estate values continue to move up and not seen that down market at all. So my advice to the buyers are twofold. One, of course, get into that property. And yes, I'm a real estate agent. Sure, take it with a grain of salt if you want to. But the reality is, any of you guys that got into that property a year ago, you would have done so at the most amazing interest rate we've ever seen in any of our lives. And you would have done it at 25% less. Somebody tell me I'm wrong. Somebody tell me I'm wrong. That's what I thought. Okay. There are two other things that would have happened if you were renting instead of buying. Specifically, over the last 12 months, you would have paid off, 12 months worth of principal payments instead of interest rate, instead of paying somebody else's mortgage, instead of paying a landlord's mortgage. That's number one. Number two, coming up on this tax return, you'd get $2,500, $3,000 back on your taxes. For the average person in Metro Detroit here, it's about a $7,000 push between what you're paying off. $6,000 push between what you're paying off on the loan and what you're getting back on your taxes. Truly, that's $6,000. That's if the property values had remained steady, you would have been in the green, like zero raise whatsoever. You still would have been in the green $6,000 over a 5-year period. That's a conservative $30,000, really $40,000. So the reality is, if you're going to be in a home for 10 years, which is the average person, and let's say the property values do go down 10%, which is not going to happen, but let's just say it does. Let's say you buy a house for $300,000, just with what you get back on your taxes, because the government loves when people have mortgages, because it means that they're in a home, which means that they're less transient, which means that they're more stable communities. That's why they do that. The mortgage interest deduction, plus what you get back by just paying down your principal and building equity in your home over any 10-year period on a $300,000 home, you're paying off about $100,000. So it's about $100,000, let's just say, between those two things. If the property values go down 10%, the home is still worth $270,000. You're still up $70,000. Millennials, first-time buyers, get into a home. Get into a home. I'm dead serious about that. It's not wait and buy real estate. And it never has been. In the entirety of American history, it has never been wait and buy real estate. It's been buy real estate and wait. I want everybody to chew on that a little bit because that's the truth. If you're a move up buyer, make the move. Just make the move. Just do it. Rip the Band-Aid. Yeah, sure. You might be a little disappointed because real estate values have jumped up, but interest rates are still low, right? There are a couple lenders out there that have the ability to, my lender's one of them, to lock people in at that 299 or 285 interest rate of the day today for the next 90 days, giving people 90 days to find a property. We also have a market exclusive program, our exclusivity partnership with Knock in Metro Detroit. And that program, which is super cool, if you got a home, you got to sell and you got to go buy one, right? It allows you to go buy the other home, non-contingent on the sale of your home. They take the DTI calculators and throw it right out the window. They don't care. They don't care. Then they give you the money they loan you the money at a zero interest to make up to 6 months of mortgage payments on your first home, so you're not making a double payment, removing that barrier. They loan you up to $25,000 at a zero interest to do any modifications, repairs, or prep to bring to market, right, on your current home. And all of that is paid at closing. They charge you 1.25% of the new home purchase, and they do not have origination fees or anything else of that nature. Yes, it's an extremely cool program. Extremely cool. We're the only ones in Metro Detroit that have it at this moment. Reach out if that sounds like you. If you don't want to be in a double payment situation and you don't want to sell and potentially be homeless and you do want to make that move because you've got another one on the way or lifestyle change or whatever that looks like, we can help. I feel like I'm doing a lot of talking. Somebody give me some questions. And if not, there's going to be a real short Q&A this week. Anybody? All right. Well, I'm going to put the YouTube link in there at the very minimum because I definitely need everybody to subscribe to that because we do some great updates weekly. Did I get that right? Yeah, I did. Okay, good. And hey, guys, anybody that's not subscribed to our YouTube channel, go ahead and subscribe. A couple of things that we put out on a monthly basis that we always put out is one, a finance and real estate monthly update. It's usually a good 10-minute video that unpacks the 4 or 5 big financial things that happen every single month. Second thing that we do is we do a top 5. It used to be a top 5 things to do in Metro Detroit, and really it's become more like this month we just Carl and I just taped it here at the Royal Oak office, and it ended up being a top 9, which is so random. If you want to watch October's, because there's still a couple of events coming up, that's a great video. I may or may not be in a Gandalf costume. Actually, I am in a Gandalf costume. And it's a really good Gandalf costume, by the way. So definitely give that one a watch. And then as well, we usually do 1, 2, or 3 kind of city tours or a day in the life of. And we so far have done Northville, Novi, Royal Oak, Rochester. Rochester, we're just finishing the editing on and getting out. And then we've got a plan to get through all of Metro Detroit over the next year. Those are kind of our 3 mainstay videos we put out every month, which is kind of fun. In addition to that, we've got a couple of other ones slotted that are both real estate centric, right? Unpacking individual little things, little nuances about real estate, like buying a home. Like what are the different types of inspections and why are they important to have and what that looks like, right? What you need and what you don't need and for what reasons. So we've got another whole slate of videos coming out there. But that's it, guys. I mean, if I'm not getting any questions, then I am going to get on out of here. Quentin, I feel like you got one more thing for me. What do you got? All right. Well, I definitely rambled a lot today, so that happened. And we went through a lot of stuff, so that happened. All right, guys, again. Well, thanks. I appreciate that. And yeah, and thanks for listening to me ramble. I appreciate all of you guys as well. All right, guys, let's do this. Make it a great week. We're going to be back next Saturday. Next Saturday, we're going to have a real good feel for where we're going to end up in October, which, honestly, God, is going to be a much stronger real estate sales market than pretty much any October over the last 10 years. And here's the reason why. Last year, our team, and part of this is our team also has grown, right? We have, there's no doubt about it. And part of it is rising tide raises all ships. The real estate market is still a little bit on fire. So last year, our team sold 44 properties in October, which is a great number. We helped 44 families either sell a home or buy a home, and that's very nice. We eclipsed that number 3 days ago. I can tell you right now, the real estate market did not double; it's up 10%. So yes, the hard. I want to always honor the people. The hard work of the team has definitely paid off. And guys, we are in a still in a super hot market. If you're considering selling property and making that move, today is the day. Now's the time. Interest rates are not going to remain this low. Buyers in the market will not remain this high, right? Once interest rates start going up and affordability goes down, we are in a very strong market. Anything we can do to help you, any questions that we can answer, we use a consultative process, not a sales process, right? Because not every answer is the same answer for everybody, right? And we do tell people from time to time, like I've told my parents and like I've told multiple other people, maybe today is not the best day for you to move, and here are the reasons why, right? Not every answer is put a sign in the ground. Not every answer is put a deposit on a house. In fact, a lot of times it's not the case. Yeah. But anyway, guys, make it a great rest of the weekend. If you are running, or if you have just somebody that's running the Free Press Marathon tomorrow, make it downtown Detroit. That's going to be super fun. And we will see you next week. Yeah. Thanks, Quentin.